Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. If you're not familiar with the show uploads each and every single Monday. We run you through the Dolphins news you need to know about, the fan Q&A, and a clip of the week that is important to you as a Dolphins fan. So, this first news story comes from Pro Football Rumors, as usually it does. And we're on our bye week, so not a whole lot to talk about, but there's enough. Again, this comes from Pro Football Rumors. Dolphins comp pick could get downgraded. The Dolphins are worried about their day 2 pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. They've been banking on might get downgraded. According to Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald, Miami was projected to receive a third-round compensatory pick for losing tackle Juwan James to the Broncos in free agency, but that's now in danger of becoming a fourth-rounder. Jackson cites someone from the overthecap.com analyst who notes that because James has now missed a handful of games with a knee injury, his contract might be deemed less valuable in the NFL's complex compensatory pick formula. James signed a massive 4-year deal, but he's been sidelined since week 1 with a knee injury. He appears to be nearing a return, but if he misses much more time, it could have negative implications for his former team. The Dolphins have been stockpiling draft assets as they tank, and they've been counting on having 4 day 2 picks in April. So, a little bit of a look into the strategy of the Miami Dolphins when it comes to what they're thinking. So I'm assuming they have an idea of what they want to do in day 2. And they need a certain amount of picks for that, obviously. Plus, obviously, it's just better to have a day 2 pick than a day 3 pick. So that also could be what But it is interesting that they are banking on having this. I mean, they need it, obviously. I mean, we're all banking on it. That's obvious. We need as much talent on this roster as possible. We need to fill out this roster as much as possible. So, yeah. Hopefully that will get done through the draft. But just in case you're wondering about that, there you go. This next news story comes from Dolphins Wire, ranking the Dolphins' options at quarterback for 2020. So this is not so much as news as just, something just to think about. So he ranks the top 7 options for the Dolphins, and we'll go through them one by one. So this is the top 7 options for the Dolphins to get at quarterback this upcoming season. Number 7, Jalen Hurts, Oklahoma. In my opinion, Jalen Hurts, obviously I don't think he's going to be a great NFL quarterback. He's a very good open field runner. He's obviously in a really good offense right now at Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley. It's a very explosive offense, but it doesn't. I don't think his game translates to the NFL, so I wouldn't even put him. I mean, first of all, there shouldn't be 7 options at quarterback. There's only a few that I think would be possible. Like, let's say, just to put it this way, if the Dolphins, let's say they miss out on Tua, Herbert, I don't know, Jordan Love. Who else? I mean, who else is out there? Jake Fromm, if you like Jake Fromm. I'm not a very big fan of Jake Fromm. The Dolphins probably, not even probably, would just stick by Josh Rosen. I still believe that Josh is going to play very well throughout the regular season, and it's going to make it tough for the Dolphins to figure out what the heck they want to do. It's really going to make it tough. And it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have. Obviously, it's a good problem to have. The dude just keeps getting better week to week. Now, despite the offense playing absolutely terrible, if Jesse Davis was healthy, I think the guy that we got from who did we get from? He played college at Texas A&M. Is it Evan Boehm? I can't remember his name right now, but we just recently got him. He's been playing better. Isaiah Prince came in and played really well as well. So the offensive line is going to get better as the season goes along, just because of those 3 things, those 3 positives. I think Michael Dieter is going to get better. Daniel Kilgore is a solid center. He's nothing special. But if we could get to tackle positions and better play inside at the guard positions, then I think Josh is just going to get better, and I think they are getting better, especially after this bye week, everybody getting healthy, you're getting Albert Wilson back. So things are looking up for Josh Rosen. So I think any of these other options, when you talk about the lower tier quarterbacks, I don't think they are an option because of Josh Rosen. I really do believe that. So we'll continue with some of the other options the Dolphins might have. Number 6 is Jordan Love, Utah State. I was very excited to see him play because a lot of people in the comment section on these videos have been talking about Jordan Love. And I wanted to see him play. I've heard some comparisons to Joe Flacco. I think Omar Kelly compared her to Joe Flacco. And we really didn't get a lot out of the LSU game. I mean, obviously they were outmanned and outmatched in that game. I'm excited to see more, but some of the stuff I have seen, he's very promising. He's got a very quick release. He's very accurate. His arm talent is he's got really, really, really good arm talent. Throw the ball wherever you need him to throw it in terms of downfield. So he definitely has an upside, that's for sure. Anybody who gets him I would say round 2 maybe. If he drops to round 3, that's a very good value there. Very underrated player. To keep your eye on there. Could be like the Gardner Minshew of this past season. Just someone who not a lot of people know about that could play very well. The number 5 option, according to Dolphins Wire for the Miami Dolphins, is Joe Burrow of the LSU Tigers. I'm automatically Xing out. If I had to pick between Jordan Love and Joe Burrow, I would pick Jordan Love for sure. Number 4, Jake Fromm. Not a big fan of Jake Fromm. He plays on a very good team. He reminds me of like Matt Leinart, Matt Barkley. Who's a good other example? Brady Quinn. Just a very good college quarterback who can run a good college team, if that makes any sense. I just don't think his game translates to the NFL. Number 3, Justin Herbert. The thing I will say about Justin Herbert really surprised me because last year when we were looking at quarterbacks on the show, there was not a lot of, like, when you watch Justin Herbert play, like, there's not really that pizzazz that you get when you watch Kyler Murray or Tua Tagovailoa. There's not really just that X factor that you see. But, when you played Auburn and some of the other big games that he's played in, you can really see why, he could be a special quarterback. And I'm actually turning a new leaf on Justin Herbert in terms of, I would be very comfortable with him being the quarterback. If it came to that. I still like Josh Rosen more though. If it came down to it. Number 2, I can't say his name. Josh Rosen. I completely agree with this. I think Josh Rosen is one of the best options for the Dolphins at quarterback. He gets better. If he continues to get better each and every single week, and if the team around him gets a little bit healthier and improves a little bit, which to be honest, and it's kind of crazy saying this, there's a little bit of a bright spot on the offensive line. Isaiah Prince played pretty well for a player that doesn't get any reps in practice and just was thrown out there against Joey Bosa. He did a very good job for those circumstances. You talk about the guy Evan, is it Boehm? I can't remember his name. He's a physical presence. He's brought a little bit of a boost to our running game as evidence of we were able to run it on the Chargers. Daniel Kilgore, obviously, again, he's solid. So, and I just said this too, so I get to go. But I think Josh Rosen, I think the team around him is going to get a little bit better. Not to say it's good, because it's not. It's not even NFL average, really. It's below that. So it's not going to be great, good, or average. It's going to be not so great, not so good, not so average. So there's still that, but if he continues to play like he has, I think it's going to make it very hard on the Dolphins. And obviously, number 1, Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama. Again, this is from Dolphins Wire. The top options for the Dolphins at quarterback. I love Tua. I'm a huge fan. I think he's going to be a very good player. I don't know what else really much to say. Super accurate, great football instincts. He's great in the pocket. He can make throws on the run. He can manufacture plays when they're not there. He can pretty much do whatever you really want him to do at the quarterback position. Throws a very beautiful deep ball. Has really good arm strength. Some people worry about his injury history. He's been hurt once in college. He didn't miss a significant amount of time. But, obviously people worry about that a little bit. But other than that, I like Tua a lot. And I like Josh Rosen a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out for the Dolphins. But either way, if the Dolphins end up with Tua or Josh, they're in very good hands, in my opinion. This next news story comes from Dolphins Wire. Do the Dolphins really need a running back this offseason? And we're just going to use this as a topic to just as a discussion, because that's what this is, this new story. Do the Dolphins really need a running back this offseason? I would say no. I don't think they really need, out of all the positions. Would it be nice? Yeah, it would be. I think, depending on what kind of player you're talking about, whether you're talking about in the draft, or free agency, Caleb Blanche has it. Excuse me. Caleb Blanche has played terrible. Kenny Drake's still pretty dang good, but he's a free agent. So yeah, I changed my mind. There is a hole there to get someone a little bit more consistent. We definitely need like the Sony Michel of this offense that can just really run it between the tackles, do everything it needs to be, a physical presence, just a gifted runner who has got good presence about him, knows when to get his 2 yards, knows when to get to his yard, always hits the hole. Just a really solid running back. And that's missing from this roster right now. And I feel like this offense needs it. Just this very, very, very instinctual, good, solid back, and especially for I formation and stuff like that. But when you look at the receiver core, I think that needs to be addressed. I think it's a little bit overrated, even for me. I don't think there's enough variety there. We need a slot receiver. Unless Albert Wilson comes back and he plays very well, that is a huge problem on this team, is the slot receiver position. Preston Williams has a lot of upside on the outside. You could probably just get a slot, if you're looking at like needs there. But yeah, I would say the running back position definitely needs to be addressed in some way, whether it's through the draft or free agency. And usually in the draft you can find some pretty good running backs in the later rounds, as history tells us. And that's it, guys. That's it for the news. There isn't a ton of news news to talk about, but we did. So as usually we do the box score, and since the NFL season is going on, let's run you guys through how the other AFC East teams did. Not that it matters because we're not in the race or anything, but I still think it's interesting. So obviously currently the Dolphins are tied for last in the AFC East with the Jets. The Jets fall to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they fall to 0-4 on the season. Let me get you the final score there, 31-6. So they got pretty much destroyed. If you don't know, we are actually not the worst offensive team in the league right now in terms of yardage. The Jets are last, we're second to last, so if you could believe that. So that's how bad things are in New York. And Sam Darnold did start one game, so he contributed to those stats. When we were going through, the other teams in our division and how competitive they're going to be, when you look at the Jets roster, and even the Bills to some extent, but their defense is just so special that it's winning them games. They won a game 14-7, so their offense isn't anything special. It's just that defense is very, very good. But the Jets don't have anything special with any of their units, and their offense is very, very, it lacks talent. Their best receiver is Jamison Crowder. Robbie Anderson is, I guess, a deep threat. Their offensive line isn't, anything to write home about. Their tight end position isn't anything to write home about. They don't do anything on offense well. Their quarterback can't carry a team that's that poorly built. So yeah, they're going to struggle, and that's why they lost 31-6. That's why they're dead last. And their starting quarterback hasn't played, but they're still dead last in the league. They're worse than we are. Okay. And we've all seen this offense play through 4 weeks of the season, and it's hard to imagine anybody would be doing worse than that. And that is how bad it is in New York right now for them. As for the Bills triumphed over the Tennessee Titans for 14-7. They're obviously second in the AFC East at 4-1. Should have probably beat the Patriots. And coming into this game, I haven't watched it yet, so I couldn't tell you what happened, if there was a lot of turnovers. Obviously, Josh Allen has turned the ball over quite a bit, actually, through the first 5 weeks of the season. He's still that gunslinger kind of a guy. His accuracy is kind of up and down, but he's a very, 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 very good quarterback in the pocket in terms of his ability to extend plays is top 5 in the NFL in terms of quarterbacks. He's up there with, the Russell Wilsons, of the world. I'm trying to think of who else is great extending plays. Obviously, there's a lot of good pocket passers that are good at it. Patrick Mahomes, obviously. I'm blanking on some other names. Matthew Stafford's pretty good at it too. But his ability to just extend play. I mean, I've seen Cam Newton's up there, obviously, but I've seen Josh Allen. We've all seen Josh Allen, but especially this year. I mean, I literally saw him stiff arm a defensive end to the ground. Like, not many quarterbacks ever in the history of the league could do that. And, he's very hard to, like, he's so strong. Like, he's underratedly, he's a crazy athlete. Let's just put it that way. But obviously his accuracy has a lot to be desired in that department. But they're 4-1. They look good. Their defense is truly something special. It really is. It's one of the best in the league. It's one of the best defenses in terms of secondary that I've watched this year. I mean, their safety duo with Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde is very special. It's very underrated. Their front's hard to run on. They got good linebackers with Milano and Edmonds. Their defense is really good. I still feel like they don't have like the pass, like that number one pass rusher. Obviously, Ed Oliver's having a pretty good rookie season as well. Even though his numbers don't show it, he's been disruptive. So yeah, there's the Bills. Their defense is carrying the heck out of them right now. They actually won a game 14-7 in today's NFL. All right, moving on to the Patriots. The Patriots obviously dominate the Redskins. It was a little bit closer than the score indicates. Let me get you the score here. I think they won 33-6, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. I don't know why I can't see the score for the thing. It's not coming up. I had this problem. Okay, here we go. 33-7. Excuse me. 33-7. Is it really? I thought they missed the. It doesn't matter. 33-7. One other thing, I did watch a little bit of this game. I haven't watched the entire thing. Like when Tom started to kind of get his rhythm back a little bit. But I watched some stuff early on in that game, and Tom, in that offense it didn't look good at all. Like they had trouble getting open downfield against the Redskins for a while there. Tom was made some very, very poor decisions with the football. I don't know, that offense just didn't look very good. It didn't look like the number one seed in the AFC good. It looked like a lot of teams in the AFC could stop it on a good day. So I thought that was interesting. I think they're a little bit overhyped, the Patriots. That offense to look that stagnant at times versus the Patriots. I know they went 33-7, but from what I saw earlier on that game, it just didn't look good at all. And I know turnovers that the defense caused had a lot to do with them, blowing out the Redskins like they did. Obviously, the defense is special. It's good enough to win a Super Bowl again, for sure. It's one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best. It's got a super talented secondary. The front's huge. It's a hard defense to score against. All right, enough talking about the stupid Patriots and Bills and Jets. Obviously your final standings are the Patriots are first at 4-0, or 5-0. The Bills are 4-1, which is hard to believe, but that defense has been carrying. And then obviously at dead last in the AFC East are the Jets and Dolphins, 0-5, I believe, and 0-4, unless the Jets had their bye week already. But all right, let's play you the clip of the week. Now this clip's old, very old actually, and I'm sure you've all already heard it. But this is what Chris Greer had to say about the long-term building process for the Miami Dolphins.
We've talked about building this long term with sustained success right away, and for us, we'll be very aggressive. We're not going to sit here on a bunch of money or anything. I mean, the plan is to build a winner here. No one likes losing, and we've talked about building a team that's going to win and win and compete for championships for a long time instead of being in this 1 year and then you fall back for 2 or 3. So, again, it's a long-term vision, but we will be aggressive.
So, I mean, it's an interesting statement that they are going to be aggressive in free agency, and, we'll see how aggressive they are, and trying to get talent down here in Miami. It's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Dolphins. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very exciting. Hopefully, there are major improvements through free agency, whether that be major holes filled on the O-line, defensive line, wherever it might be. Someone to play opposite of Xavier is obviously a huge hole. A better free safety is a huge problem. Bobby McCain is obviously not the answer there, and Rashad Jones isn't a very good free safety either. He's obviously a great strong safety. He's great in the box, but that is something this team hasn't had for like 3-4 years now, is a real deal free safety. Maybe even more than that, to be honest with you. So, and obviously Minka would have been that, but, unfortunately we had to play him at 10 different positions, and then we traded him after one season here in Miami, like a bunch of idiots. But, it's going to be a very exciting offseason. There's a lot of holes to fill, and obviously what Chris Greer said right there, that they are going to be aggressive in free agency because they have a ton, and I do mean a ton, of cap space. So it's going to be a fun offseason to watch, and hopefully this Dolphins team is competitive again after this season, because this season so far has been very hard to watch. But I do want to bring something up, and I know everybody here who's listening to the show that wants this team to lose every game that they play probably won't like what I'm about to say, but I think it's very interesting, to say the least. When you look at the circumstance, this is just an argument that it's like playing devil's advocate right now. This is just an interesting thing that could happen. I am not saying this is going to happen, nor do I believe this is going to happen, but it is a very interesting thing to think about, and I want to bring this up before we get into the fan Q&A. So the big topic of the day is, can the Dolphins win 4 games? And here's the schedule, ladies and gentlemen. In a row is what I meant to say. 4 games in a row. Can the Dolphins win 4 games in a row and tie it up to be 4-4? So, let's look at the schedule, ladies and gentlemen. Coming off the bye, the Miami Dolphins go against the Washington Redskins, currently one of the worst teams in the National Football League right now. They're very, very bad. So, could the Dolphins beat the Redskins? Absolutely. Absolutely. The Dolphins are at home in that game. The Redskins are absolutely terrible. Their quarterback positioning play is terrible. Their ownership and their leadership is terrible. They're terribly ran. They suck. So the Dolphins could wind up being 1-4 after the bye week. Then the Dolphins have to travel to Buffalo, and that could get ugly, ladies and gentlemen. This is the least likely game that they could win. The Dolphins have obviously struggled at Buffalo for a very long time, so it is a problem. So obviously, like I just said, the Dolphins have struggled hard at Buffalo for a long time now. And they're a good defense, one of the best in the league. So that's a problem. And their offense it's not anything special, but Josh Allen is pretty dang good at extending plays, which could be an issue with the way this defense. I mean, look what the heck, when Phillip Rivers scrambled. Phillip Rivers, when he scrambled, it was a problem. So think about Josh Allen running around all over the place. I think the game plan, this coaching staff is much, much more intelligent than Matt Burke and his dumb ideas that he came up with every single week. So I would assume we would take measures to prevent that from happening, as opposed to just, letting him run around the defense and not trying to adjust at all. So hopefully that happens. That's the only chance the Dolphins have, is playing a really good defense in that game, because I would, honest to God, doubt this Dolphins team is going to move the ball at all against that defense because of how talented they are. So that would be the hardest game to win, and that would be the least likely game to win out of the 4 games. So is it possible the Dolphins could pull one out in Buffalo? It's very unlikely. That would be the only team the Dolphins would have a hard time winning 4 in a row against. But the Dolphins play the Steelers at 8:15. Is this a crapping Monday Night Football game? And I hate saying crapping. People are like, oh yeah, it's on ESPN. Wow. Well, why the heck they scheduled that game for? I have no idea. But okay, so it's a Monday Night Football game against the Steelers. I didn't even know we had one this year. That's crazy. Could we beat the Steelers? Yes. We could definitely beat the Steelers. Mason Rudolph, isn't anything special. They have Juju Smith. They have James Conner. But it's obviously we can beat the dang Steelers. I do believe that. We're in Pittsburgh. but I do believe this Dolphins team could beat the Steelers. Okay, so I don't think that's a tough game. The Steelers aren't a good team, is what it is. Minka Fitzpatrick. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays in that game. But I do think the Dolphins can win that game. And then the next game is the Jets and Dolphins, where the Jets are going to be visiting Miami in Miami. And I definitely think the Dolphins are going to win that game. I for sure think the Dolphins are going to win that game. So I actually believe the Dolphins will win 2 out of the 4 games that they're about to play on the schedule. I really do believe that. They could. The only team that is super unlikely that they would be is the Bills in Buffalo. That's the only team that I could 0% see them beat right now, because of that defense. That's going to be an issue. But if they can stop Josh Allen from running around, then I do think the Dolphins would have a chance in that game, because the receiving options in Buffalo isn't anything to write home about. Obviously, got John Brown, Zay Jones, Reuben Foster, Singletary in the backfield, Frank Gore in the backfield. Offensive line is okay. So they don't have a lot of weapons on offense, but Josh Allen is a problem. Is it possible the Miami Dolphins could win 4 in a row and be 4-4 after the bye week? How insane would that be if they could pull it off? Like, seriously, how crazy would that be? That would be insane. Will they do it? Absolutely not. I definitely don't think they're going to do it. But all of the teams that I listed did not make the playoffs last year. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills are better than they were a year ago. But they are the Bills. Okay? They're the Bills. Are they out of this rut that they've been in for 20 years now? Who the heck knows? Is there an upset brewing in the AFC East? There could be. But I definitely think the Dolphins will whoop the Jets. And you quote me on that. When the Jets come to Miami, they will get beat. And I'm not even playing around when I say that. I don't care if Sam Darnold's behind center or not. They're gonna get beat. I really do believe that. So yeah, it's just an interesting thought. Could the Dolphins win 4 in a row after the bye? Because if you think about it, now I still think this is a stupid thing to say because it's not. It's pretty much irrelevant. All 4 of the teams the Dolphins played were playoff teams a year ago. What does that mean? Not much, really. The Ravens haven't looked good since they played us. They beat the Cardinals, they beat us, they just beat the Steelers. All 3 of those teams, not good. They couldn't beat the Browns. Like that, I think the Ravens team, I even overreacted to all, So, and then you look at the Cowboys, who, the ones that they've had haven't been very impressive against impressive teams. Their first few weeks of the season either. So some of these playoff teams that were playoff teams a year ago probably won't be, like the Chargers. The Chargers were, decimated with injuries, and they haven't looked good all year. So I think that set's a little bit misleading. Now, the next 4 games that they do play, the Steelers aren't a good team, the Jets aren't a good team, the Bills are a good team, and the Redskins aren't a good team. So there is an opportunity to at least win 3 out of the 4. It probably won't happen. This team is not good, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty bad. But it's an interesting thought to have because, the next 4 games, it's not like the Dolphins are playing the 2008 Patriots or anything crazy like that. They're not playing a great team. So it's possible. It's definitely possible. And the Dolphins will get a win. Whoever they beat, their first win of the season will be in the next 4 weeks. I do believe that. And again, I would love to know how many games you think the Dolphins win in a 4-game stretch. So let's get into fan Q&A now. When I put up the message board, whatever you want to call it, it was pretty late. So we're not going to have a lot of questions. So this is going to be a pretty short episode. But at least we got one out. You know what I mean? Because we can't miss a Sunday. And then, obviously there's not a lot to talk about. It is the bye. Team's not doing good. AFC East is, very other than the Bills and the Patriots. So let's look at the first question. This comes from Lewis. He says, "How is it going, Skaggs? It's the first week we haven't lost this season. LOL. All jokes aside, we should be happy this week because Pittsburgh lost. Iconic that Fitzpatrick requested a trade and ends up going to a team that's 1-5. It also gives us this week to reevaluate player personnel schemes against the slumping Washington Redskins. What positions do you think should be priority and search for veteran leadership in free agency? Offensive tackle, defensive tackle, cornerback, tight end, linebacker. Thank you for the podcast, guys. I appreciate that. Well, what positions should be a priority for vet? Well, you just got to look for a leader, regardless of the position. Whether it's in the secondary, whether it's in the defensive line, where it doesn't matter. This team desperately needs veteran leadership to take. It doesn't really matter what position. I mean, obviously they're going to be in meeting groups with their specific position groups, but when the team gets together in the locker room, there are certain leaders wherever. So if the Dolphins can get good veteran players in multiple positions, that would be great. But just looking for any kind of a veteran presence on this team would be huge because it does need it. So it doesn't really matter the position because of how the roster is. But in terms of reevaluating what the Dolphins are doing, like you asked, going into the Washington Redskins, one thing the Dolphins need to do is blitz more, be more aggressive on defense, number one. Number two, they need to find a way to get Mike Gesicki the football more. Because when you watch him on I'm not going to say tape because I'm not crapping, and I said crapping, and I shouldn't say that because it's annoying to say. But here we go again. What was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yeah, they need to find ways to get Mike Gesicki the ball more. They need to throw him the football more. There are situations when you watch the games where he has one-on-one coverage, and that's a favorable matchup for this offense. They need to give him more 50-50 balls. He is very good at coming down with those. He hasn't gotten any opportunities to come down with any of them. When he has, whether it's been in preseason, when he's been thrown a good ball, he comes down with the football. And in practice, every time he comes down with the ball. Some of the 50-50 balls he's been thrown in, his rookie season have just been terrible throws and haven't been his fault. That he desperately needs more targets, and hopefully that changes after the bye week because he needs to be involved more. So there you go, Liz. That's what I had to say about all that. This next question comes from Hell Yeah Brother Go Fins. He says, would you draft a receiver with one of our first round picks this year? Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. I'm trying to think who. Is he coming out this year? I can't remember, dude. That might not be a thing. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I would. There's some talent there, and it's a position of need. Is more playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of investing in the trenches. I believe that's where wins, and obviously it's very important. And if you don't have good offensive or defensive linemen, your team will struggle. So it's just really dependent on who's there. But I would be okay with us drafting a receiver. This next question comes from Josh Hart. He says, which players from our current roster do you see being gone next year? Charles Harris is the first one that comes to mind. Eric Rowe. Who else? Rashad Jones, I don't think will be on the team next year. Who else? Receiving wise, I don't think there's anybody on the receiver core that I could see the Dolphins giving up on and cutting outright without at least letting them play in preseason. Man. Yeah, those three come to mind immediately. Eric Rowe, Charles Harris, and Rashad Jones. I don't think those three, and not because Rashad's bad or anything. I just don't think he will be on the team. But I definitely don't think Eric Rowe will be, and I definitely don't think Charles Harris will be. So those are some names that I definitely don't think will be on the team next year. It's a great question, Josh, by the way. This next question comes from Mario Costello. He says, who is one player that has impressed you so far? Who's a player that's impressed me so far? Man, Josh Rosen has impressed me a good deal, but Raekwon McMillan has impressed me. Every time he's gotten any opportunity to play, he's made the most out of it, and he's looked very good, especially in the running game. I mean, he's looked explosive. He's the best tackling consistent tackler on the team that I've seen all season. So yeah, those two I would say stand out the most. Josh and Raekwon McMillan. Everyone else has kind of been disappointing. Jerome Baker, I expected to make more plays than he has, and I thought he was going to be a huge part of our blitz package, and we just haven't. In preseason he was, but for some reason this season we just haven't done it a lot. And I thought his sack numbers would be pretty high, but he hasn't been, and which has been disappointing. Sam McGuavin has been disappointing, I would say, so far. I expected a little bit more out of him, even though he's played really well. Actually, I take that back. As I think about it, he's actually played pretty good, to be honest with you, especially in coverage. So I'm going to take that one back. He just hasn't made any splash plays because of how bad the defense is as a unit. Yeah, those are some of the disappointments and players who have impressed me. Christian Wilkins has played pretty good as of late as well, too. So yeah. This next question comes from Josh Hart. He says, if we can get the number 1 pick in the draft, would you consider maybe not even drafting a quarterback? Yes, depending on how good Josh plays. I would consider it. I would definitely consider it, if that's the question. And I put an emphasis on consider for sure. This next question comes from Hell Yeah Brother Go Fins. He says, what do you think of Wilkins? Would you have done anything different with the 13th pick? It's hard for my brain to remember all of the players that were available still at the 13th overall pick because I don't have the greatest memory when it comes to those things. But Christian Wilkins has played better as the year has gone on, which is a good sign. He's kind of a product of the defense just being, again, so bad as a unit. It's hard to notice good play. It really is because of how bad everything else is. And I think he's done a good job so far. He's gotten a few pressures. He's gotten, a sack. Has he gotten a sack this year? I think so, right? Or maybe I'm thinking of preseason. But he's done well. He's done very well. He's played better as of late. He's played a ton of snaps too, man. There's not a good rotation on the D-line right now because there's not a lot of depth. And he's taken a lot of snaps, more than he should, especially for a rookie. So hopefully that, in the future can be a little bit better, and I think you'll get more consistent play from him. But it's hard to ask any defensive lineman to play that, especially how bad the time of possession has been for this team. To play that amount of snaps at that position as a rookie, sure, it takes a toll on him. And I think, again, his more consistent play, you'll see more consistent play next year when the team is better because of that. Alright, let's see here. This next question comes from Mario. He says, what do you think about our chances against the Skins? I think they're great. Again, the quarterback play hasn't been good this season. Their defense hasn't been consistent this season. I think that team isn't very good. They don't have a lot of weapons in the pass game other than Scary Terry, which is just a fantastic nickname. So yeah, I like our chances, especially we're at home too. This next question comes from Mario. He says, if Rosen wins us 5 games, do you think he stays and we don't draft a quarterback this year? 5. Ooh, 5 games. Man, 5 games. No. I think the Dolphins would still take one. I really do believe that. I think the Dolphins are pretty set on Tua. It would take a dang miracle not to change their minds, even though I do think Josh has a chance to. Just because of how well he's playing. And the Dolphins would be stupid to look the other way on Josh Rosen, just because of the situation that we find ourselves in. They would be stupid. Because he has played better week to week, and I'm very excited to see him continue to play, because he has gotten better week to week. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, and let me make sure, again, I put you guys on short notice. Should have uploaded this video earlier, especially since it was a bye week and we didn't play this week. But that's it. And it sucks to say, but I guess I'm gonna have to see you guys after the Redskins game, because that's the next time we'll get an episode. I'm very excited to get this first up, and I'm telling. Oh, we got some video in the background. Shouldn't be there. I'm very excited for that game. I think it could possibly be the Dolphins' first win. It should be the Dolphins' first win of the season. I'm not that kind of a person who roots for losses. I just don't. As a fan of this team, there's no way I can sit down on Sunday and hope to lose. It's just not in my DNA. I just can't do that. So, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to, and I'm going to root for us to win every single game that we play from here on out. That's just how I am. if the Dolphins find themselves at 2 or 3 to the Redskins or Jets or someone like that, the only team I would be worried about is Cincinnati. That's the only team that I would be worried about if I'm Miami. Other than that, I'm not worried about any other team taking Tua. And if we have to get in a trade bid with the Bengals and we really want Tua, guess what the Bengals are going to do? They're going to lose it. So, I'm not concerned about that. Other than the Bengals getting the first overall pick. If they get the first overall pick, I mean, guys, let's just hope they be really stupid and take Justin Herbert. But if Josh Rosen plays well, I mean, dang, you know what I mean? And I feel like the quarterback class this year is a little bit deeper than it has been in years past. I like Jordan Love as a top 3 or 4 prospect, if we're being honest. I definitely like him over Jake Fromm. But anyway, that is going to be it, guys, for this episode. A lot to look forward to. Very excited for next week's episode. Hopefully, we're going to be talking about the first victory in the Dolphins season, and hopefully Josh Rosen comes out here and balls out. And we have, something to talk about and something to be happy about. So that is going to be it, guys. I am Skaggs83. Let me know what you guys think about the next 4 games. How many will the Dolphins win? And I'll see you guys in the next one.